Queenzflip goes off on Melyssa Ford and calls her a fake and reveals how he made her walk off set on the Joe Budden podcast. It appears Queenzflip called Melyssa Ford a fake, phony opportunist and said that she is a mean person who is only friends with others when it is convenient. This all was revealed on Flip's Patreon, and it was the most scathing commentary and insight into who Melyssa Ford might actually be behind the scenes. Flip says that Melyssa Ford got up and left after he called her a fake, phony person who he doesn't really rock with like that. And as she was walking off set, Flip was called unprofessional by Melyssa Ford. Flip then reiterates that he told Ford he didn't like her and that he didn't rock with her like that. The rest of the cast was apparently quiet, with Joe Budden eventually asking what is going on. Flip then tries to play cleanup and says that he didn't really mean what he said and that the Melyssa Ford on camera is different than behind the scenes where she is more down to earth. He even calls her a chameleon, which is supposed to be a compliment, but really isn't. Flip then says he had no clue that Ford was going through a lot with the launch of her new podcast and her co-host S spreading rumors about Ford. If you don't remember, Ford was originally supposed to launch the Menopod podcast with her former friend S, but that quickly went left when the terms of the business fell apart. It got so bad that S would go on Spaces and accuse Melyssa Ford of being a snake.
It was an idea that I came up with. I shared it with her. I came up with the name. We didn't get to the contract. We didn't get to anything. She just started announcing it. And then basically when it's like, it was my idea. I came up with the name. I trademarked it. And we've been working on it collectively. Like, it was supposed to be a partnership. And then it turned into the Menopod with Melyssa Ford. She just took it. I mean, it's obvious she wants her own show. We were given a contract. We were not cool with the contract. She said that was the wrong one. She was going to give us an updated version. And then we never spoke to her again. She never hit us back.
A little bit later, Flip says someone told him some information about Melyssa Ford that they knew would get back to him and make him mad at Ford. Who is this person? Is it S? Is it Ish? Is it Imani? Who knows? But whatever that person relayed to Flip about Melyssa Ford, it sounded believable enough for Flip to flip out. Flip then says that Melyssa Ford was very rude to him on a previous taping of a Patreon episode, apparently huffing and puffing when he spoke and shooting him dismissive looks. So what led to the actual argument was that they were apparently talking about Melyssa Ford's recent struggles with launching her podcast, and Parks asked Flip what he thought, and Melyssa Ford would chime in and say, "Oh, Flip be with the ops." And that led to Flip going in on this short tirade. Now, I don't know what ops Melyssa Ford might be talking about, Mandy, S, but Melyssa Ford did say that S was in contact with someone that would shock the listeners. Could it have been Flip? I initially thought it was Ish, but Flip likes to play lip service to a lot of people's attention, so it might have very well been Queenzflip. Flip then drops a bombshell and details that Mel wanted him punished for his actions. Flip says he apologized, then Flip hints that Joe told him that he could have pulled Melyssa Ford to the side to address the situation and not wait for a live taping of the show. A couple of things here that need saying. This is the episode of Flip's Patreon that made Melyssa Ford feel like he was using her to sell his Patreon. That discussion happened on the most recent paywalled episode of the Joe Budden podcast. And Flip outright lies on that episode, saying that he didn't really speak about Melyssa Ford and only really spoke about his current status with Shampoo. That simply wasn't true. Flip did use Melyssa Ford to boost his subscriptions on Patreon. Now, as for the ramifications of this, it's very wide-reaching, I believe. I don't believe Flip one bit when he says he didn't mean what he said. For one, he said it in a low tone and not his usual bombastic loud tone, which is a sign that wasn't content over everything. I highly doubt Flip is okay with Ford demanding Flip be punished. Ford also will never forget this. I mean, Flip called her a phony, a fake and mean person. He reinforced what S said about her.
I mean, it just felt like she was just trying to do some shady shit because there was stuff that was happening that I wasn't cool with, and I spoke up on it. Mel wants to be famous. I don't care about being famous. So if you're going to give me a contract basically trying to take away my rights, trying to take my idea and run with it and make it yours, no, I'm not cool with that. That wasn't what we discussed.
He reinforced what Rocky said about her.
And the fact of the matter is, it's like, okay, cool. Hot and bothered. It's literally not even 3 words. It's 2 words and a symbol. Like, are you kidding? You can't come up with it. Like, you're rushing it. You can't come up with another name, like something original. You literally are on camera, not just saying what she said. She was smug about this, hair flipping all like, yeah, but they not me. And they don't got the following I got. Like, you got beef with these people? I saw the screenshot of the podcast that they were referencing, and I believe it's 2 white people in there. So, like, you don't even know these people. So, like, flip your hair and pop your collar on a smaller podcast that doesn't have the following you have. They don't, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I thought that was lame.
And lastly, Flip disregarded Ford's feelings yet again by using that incident to monetize. Flip had an agenda by releasing this, and it was to get his side of the story out and not allow himself to appear like some sort of abusive, chauvinistic coworker. You can also tell that this resentment of Melyssa Ford weaponizing feminine talking points doesn't only reside with Flip. Ish always looks utterly disgusted when Ford talks, and deeply resents her for laying the narrative about him being a woman hater. Then there's Ice, who goes out of his way to avoid taking pictures with Melyssa Ford and generally looks dismissive of Ford with the way he goes about engaging with her on the pod. My guess is that Ford treats Joe Budden really well and treats the rest of the cast like the co-workers who are beneath her. Never mind the whole Cameron situation, which appears to have strained Melyssa Ford and Flip's dynamic. When Ford and Flip first arrived, they tried to create a bond, and I largely think it was artificial. I believe that Flip just felt uncomfortable because Ish and Ice weren't too receptive to his arrival, so he forced a relationship with Ford, calling her his sister, calling her his ride or die. But it would turn out that that was all fake, as when Cameron would wipe the floor with her, he backed out and didn't hold her down and even wore Cameron's socks. And now I don't think he really meant to bother Ford, but it did, and she said it on an episode of the Joe Budden Patreon. I also wanted to end this video by saying that from my observations as an outsider, Ford has a reputation of appearing like a jealous, attention-seeking, spotlight-stealing debutante who aims to curate a on-air persona that is far removed from who she actually is. Ford presents on camera like a girl's girl who fights for the plight of all women, but often seems judgmental of other video vixens, like Corinne Steffens, and there's even the storied incident of her on-set mistreatment of Buffy the Body during a King magazine photo shoot.
And I'm not going to say I had beef with her. She had beef with me, was Melyssa Ford.
Melyssa Ford.
What was the issue?
It was when we did the 5th anniversary issue for King magazine, when all us was on the cover. It was like 5 covers.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
When I got to LA to do the shoot, she didn't know that I was the 5th girl. So when I got there, her whole attitude changed. She never spoke to me. She was walking around the shoot slamming doors and just acting real ugly.
Why?
So when all us sat on the sofa for the group shot, she got up.
How did you all fit on the sofa, man?
It was like a long sofa. It was like
extended,
3 girls. It was 1 girl laying on the back. It was once in. She got up and left because she didn't want me in the shoot. I've never done, that was my first time ever meeting her.
Yeah.
Never done anything to her, never said anything bad. She was one of the video girls I looked up to.
Flip isn't the most stable, but it sure does look like Ford isn't hesitant to play into her pretty privilege and play dumb when people call her out on it. Now, for the rest of this Patreon episode, Flip talks about his dynamic with Shamy and says that him and Shampoo have spoke about him appearing on Improper Improv Season 2. He says that he aired out his grievances and said that he never tried to blackball Shamy's daughter. Now, Shamy did say that Flip threatened to end Shamy's daughter's career.
Flip threatened my daughter.
That's a fact.
On the phone.
Yeah.
I was gonna keep that secret, but threatening my daughter? We got in touch with Ian. Ian wanted to work with me. And we didn't tell, I didn't say anything to anybody. But then he said, I know you trying to work with Ian and I can stop that. You would stop my daughter?
He said, I'll stop all that. I know what y'all trying to do with Charlie. I'll stop all of that. Like,
and you know I'm not lying. You know we not lying because it hurt me to my core. It was 17 years old, a kid.
17 years old, a kid. Just wanting to sing and entertain. And this man brought up something that had nothing to do with the YouTube show. I will end all of that right now. I will end it.
And this is a whole lot of background infighting. I still think Shamy's going to be on Improper Improv Season 2, but we will wait and see. The craziest part of this was Flip talking about Melyssa Ford and their current dynamic, which I suspect will never be the same. But let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Do you feel like Flip bugged out by finally revealing what he believed about Melyssa Ford? Do you believe that Ford overstepped boundaries by demanding that Flip be punished? Oh man, it's getting really crazy at that couch in Jersey. With that said, follow me on Instagram to Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter to Stop TV. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.
This fine video was brought to you by Danny from The Stop on behalf of Stop Productions. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, comment, or subscribe. Additionally, the thank you button has been enabled. If you want to say thanks, just say thanks on the thank you button. Any donations are greatly appreciated. Danny from The Stop.